Welcome back. In this video, I'm going to talk about some things that you should never do in an off-road race, like in a Harescramble or enduro. There are many do's and don'ts in off-road racing. Some of them are in the rule book, some aren't. After 5 years of racing, I learned a lot of this the hard way, but I've learned a lot from others as well. So I'm going to share that with you here. Let's jump right into it. Never stop in the race line. I'm not talking about unintended tip-overs or crashes when in the race line. I'm talking about situations where a rider needs to stop for one reason or another. If you have to stop during the race, avoid stopping in the race line, even if it's a secondary line. You may be leaving a line open, but if two racers coming along battling for a position, you may be blocking a potential passing line. If you have to stop during the race for any reason, try to get fully out of the way. There could be any number of reasons that someone has to stop during a race, whether you're having a mechanical issue or just extremely fatigued, but in some cases a rider will stop in the trail to let another by. This is almost always avoidable and better for both riders if you just keep moving until there's a section of trail wide enough to allow a pass. Here are a few examples of how it's supposed to be done. On your left! On your left! Thank you! Never hold up faster riders. There are many different classes on the course at the same time, and unless you're racing for an overall podium finish, you're not racing with most of the other riders on the course. A faster rider will eventually get around you, but it rarely makes sense to hold them up or try to prevent them from passing you. It can actually benefit you to let a rider pass. It can motivate you to increase your pace and try to stay with them. They may show you some lines you didn't see or some lines not to take. The worst situation I've seen routinely in Harescrambles is when someone is holding up so many riders it causes a train on the race course. Getting caught up in a train is a very frustrating situation for everyone except the guy in front. He thinks he's leading the pack when the truth is he's the slowest one of the group. When trains happen during a race, it's the responsibility of every rider involved to break up the train, especially the guy who's second in line. Everybody should be making noise, taking every opportunity to pass whoever's in front of them. If everybody does this, it'll break up pretty quickly. Never cut the course. This one's pretty obvious, but you should never shortcut the course to gain an advantage. I'm not talking about hot lines. Most organizations have rules about hot lines and what's acceptable. I'm talking about actually cutting the course, whether intentionally or unintentionally. There are only a few people who will do this intentionally, but most course cutting happens unintentionally when a ribbon gets taken out or somebody misses a turn and others follow. In this situation, we missed a right turn where a ribbon got knocked down. We realized it, turned around, and found the turn. Some people in this race continued straight, rejoined the course, and cut off a half mile or so. When you realize you're off the course, you should turn around and carefully backtrack until you find where you left the course. Realize that other riders may miss the turn in the same place, so watch for others as you backtrack. Never focus on the rider in front of you. It's very easy to get too focused on the rider in front of you to the point where you miss hot lines and passing opportunities. You should always be looking ahead on the trail, watching arrows, and reading the course. If you're focused on the rider in front of you, you'll miss turns and hot lines. It takes a lot of discipline to continuously look ahead of the rider in front of you, but if you do, you'll do much better in the race. In this scenario, I got focused on the rider in front of me and missed this right turn arrow. I did it again here and missed this left turn arrow. If I'd been watching the arrows, I would have gained several positions in both of those situations. Never go backwards on the trail. The most common situation where someone would go backwards on the trail are hill climbs. Someone doesn't make it on the first try and they need to go back down and try again. In that situation, don't go back down on the main race line. Move to the side to get as far off the main race line as possible. Other situations may involve someone who has a flat or some other mechanical issue and they're trying to get off the course to get back to the staging area. This applies to course workers too. This was a dusty race and this could have been a bad situation. Don't go backwards on the course, just don't do it. Never stop near the scoring tent. Sometimes riders make a pit stop during the race for fuel, goggles, etc. It's important not to stop too close to the scoring tent. If you do, the receiver will repeatedly pick up your transponder, adding laps to your scoring and creating a mess for scoring officials to clean up manually. The worst case scenario for this is when the race is ending and riders see the checkered flag and then stop to talk to one another right as they exit the scoring tent. Never stop near the scoring tent. Move at least 25 or 30 yards from it before you stop. Come on. Never be disrespectful to others. Competition and adrenaline can create some tense situations out on the race course, so it's important to remember that we're all doing this for fun and nothing other than a plastic trophy is at stake. Always be courteous and respectful of your fellow racers, and I'll leave it at that. Now that I've shared some things you should never do as a racer, here are a few things you should never do as a spectator. Spectators should never get in the way. Volunteers and spectators should never do anything to interfere with race participants. When you're out in the woods watching a race, it can be easy to get on the course without necessarily knowing. Hill climbs and muddy areas are often areas where racers are looking for alternative lines. If you're standing in an alternative line, you're putting yourself and the racers at risk, not to mention potentially blocking a passing opportunity. Also, racers know that spectators always stand where there's good traction, so if you're on the race course, beware. Mile 3.5, somebody's hurt, 3.5. I can't imagine why this guy drove this side by side onto the course like this. This was a scoring check area, so he might have been delivering something, but there's still really no excuse for that. Never turn your back to racers on the course. Spectators should never walk or ride a bike on the course with your back to the racers. This happens a lot during kids' races. It's common for parents and spectators to spread out around the course to watch and help kids who need help after a fall or need help restarting their bike. While this is mostly helpful, parents sometimes get too focused on their own child without considering that they are interfering with another child racing. Parents should never be on the course on a bike or a pit bike following their child. That's the job of the sweepers. This is a big problem for kids on electric dirt bikes because they can't hear them coming. Never interrupt scoring officials. People working the scoring area have a lot going on, and these areas are ribboned off for a reason. They're handling live timing, ensuring transponders and receivers are working correctly, as well as keeping track of manual backup scoring. Spectators shouldn't interrupt them to ask questions or report a problem on the course. These people can't leave the scoring area or stop what they're doing. Sweepers and other race officials outside the scoring area can help sort out issues and answer questions. Never lose track of your kids. Kids have a lot of fun at races, but without supervision, they can put themselves and others in danger. Every race organization that I've raced with has a rule against pit riding, yet at every race there are kids ripping through the parking lot on dirt bikes, weaving in and out of cars, trucks, trailers, and campers. It creates a hazard for people walking around, and it's dangerous for the kids riding as cars, trucks, and RVs are coming and going. Unsupervised kids can also put themselves in danger on the race course or interfere with the race. I've heard stories of kids intentionally misdirecting riders, and a couple of years ago there were reports of kids throwing rocks at riders in the middle of the night at a local 24-hour race. If you enjoyed this video, then you should definitely watch my video about the 5 things that I wish somebody had told me before my first race. Thanks for watching.